celebration involved a buy one, get one free coupon at the local bowling alley. I want something special, Stanley, Helen said, her voice unusually soft. I want to feel like we're in New York again. Like when we were young and you didn't have a favorite brand of antacid. Stanley looked panicked. But the bowling alley has disco night on Wednesdays. Helen, they turn on a purple light. It's very romantic. Jana, ever the peacemaker, decided the roommates should host a surprise anniversary dinner for the Ropers. It would be a gesture of goodwill, and perhaps it would distract Stanley from the fact that Jack had accidentally broken the balcony railing during a particularly enthusiastic dance lesson with Chrissy. We'll do a 1940s theme, Jana planned. Big band music, candlelight, and Jack's Beef Wellington. I'll handle the decorations. Chrissy volunteered. I've got some leftover streamers from my cousin's baby shower. They say it's a boy, but if we turn them inside out, they're just blue. The night of the anniversary arrived. The apartment was transformed. Candles flickered in empty wine bottles, and the smell of roasting beef wafted through the halls. Jack was in his element, wearing a tuxedo jacket he'd borrowed from Larry, which was 3 sizes too large and smelled faintly of used car upholstery. Go get them? Jack, Jana whispered. Tell them there's a leak in the ceiling. Jack went downstairs and lured the Ropers up. When they entered, the lights snapped on. Surprise! Stanley clutched his chest. I knew it. The roof finally gave way. I'm being sued. No, Stanley, Helen whispered, her eyes widening as she saw the elegant table. It's a party. For us. The dinner started perfectly. The music was soft. The food was exquisite, and for the first time in a decade, Stanley and Helen weren't arguing. They were actually smiling. But then, disaster struck in the form of a rogue candle and Chrissy's "It's a Boy" streamers. A stray spark caught the edge of a blue ribbon, and within seconds, the decorations were a blazing inferno of crepe paper. Fire! Stanley screamed, grabbing the nearest liquid, which happened to be a priceless bottle of vintage red wine Jack had been saving for the toast. He doused the flames, but in the process, he drenched Helen's favorite white dress in a deep, permanent shade of burgundy. The roommates stood in frozen horror. The romantic evening was ruined. The streamers were ash. The wine was gone. And Helen looked like she'd survived a grape-treading accident. But then Helen started to laugh. It wasn't a giggle. It was a deep, belly-shaking roar. Oh, Stanley, she gasped, wiping wine from her cheek. You haven't been this exciting since you accidentally drove the car into the Hudson River. Stanley looked at his wife. He looked at the wine-stained dress. You're not mad? Mad? Stanley, this is the most attention you've paid me in years. And look at the bright side the dress matches your eyes when you're angry. The night ended with the 5 of them sitting on the floor, eating beef Wellington with their hands and listening to the waves of the Pacific crashing in the distance. As the Ropers headed downstairs, Stanley paused at the door. Tripper, the food wasn't bad. for a guy who uses too much garlic. Chapter 10: The Mystery of the Lavender Envelope. A week of torrential rain had turned Santa Monica into a gray, moody version of its usual self. Inside apartment 201, the humidity was doing strange things to the wallpaper and even stranger things to Chrissy's hair. "It's a letter," Chrissy squealed, waving a delicate lavender envelope she had pulled from the mailbox. "And it smells like spring in a blender." Jonna leaned over, her curiosity piqued. "Who's it for?" "It doesn't say," Chrissy replied, her eyes wide. "It just says to the most beautiful tenant in 201. That could be any of us." Jack, who was currently wrestling with a stubborn clove of garlic, snorted. "Most beautiful. Well, let's look at the facts. Jonna has the brains, Chrissy has the pigtails, and I have the classic Mediterranean bone structure. It's obviously for me." "It's written in purple ink, Jack," Jonna pointed out. "Unless you've taken up calligraphy and started admiring your own reflection in a new way, I think it's for one of the girls." They opened it with the kind of ceremony usually reserved for royal decrees. Inside was a single, handwritten note. "I see you every morning. Your smile is the light that guides my coffee cup. Meet me at the Regal Beagle at 8 p.m. tonight. I'll be wearing a yellow carnation. A secret admirer." Chrissy clapped her hands. "It's so romantic. I bet it's that handsome man from 3B. The one with the mustache." "You mean the one who wears socks with sandals?" Jack asked. "I think his mustache is a cry for help, not a romantic gesture." As evening fell, the apartment was a whirlwind of hairspray and fashion choices. Jonna chose a sensible but flattering wrap dress, while Chrissy went for something with more sequins than a disco ball. Even Jack decided to tag along, purely in a protective capacity, which involved him wearing a sweater that was slightly too tight across the chest. They arrived at the Regal Beagle to find it packed with the usual Wednesday night crowd. Jack scanned the room for a yellow carnation. "There," Jonna whispered, pointing to a booth in the corner. Sitting there, looking extremely nervous and holding a drooping yellow flower, was Stanley Roper. "Mr. Roper," the trio said in unison, sliding into the booth. Stanley jumped, nearly knocking over his ginger ale. "What are you doing here? This is a private engagement." "We got your letter, Mr. Roper," Chrissy said, beaming. "It was so sweet, even the part about the coffee cup." Stanley's face turned a shade of red that rivaled Helen's burgundy dress. "Letter? I didn't write you a letter. I wrote a note to the florist about my wife's anniversary bouquet. I must have put it in the wrong box." Just then, Helen Roper walked in, wearing a yellow carnation in her hair and a triumphant smile on her face. "I found your note in the mailbox, Stanley. I knew you had a romantic bone in your body, even if it was buried under 20 years of grumpiness." Stanley looked at the roommates. He looked at Helen. He sighed, defeated by his own accidental sweetness. All right, sit down. I'm buying a round of sodas. But don't expect me to start writing poetry. My rhyming is as bad as my plumbing. Chapter 11, The Midnight Marathon. It was the